In the world today, if you look around, you will see that there are homeless people everywhere, and like me, you will wonder how they got there and if there was a way to help. Imagine this. You are on your way home from work one afternoon. Next thing you see is a mother in a worn down rags and a baby in her arms, sitting on the side of the road. She is holding a cardboard sign that says, "Need money for formula." What would you do? Would you help, or would you let her baby starve? The reason I chose this topic to speak on is because I have some of my own family members that have faced being homeless before. It is important for people in the world today to try to help one another and not to tear each other down when we already are at our lowest. I'm going to give everyone today some insight about the inside of what homelessness is about. Then I will inform you on how some things that we all may be able to do together to fix the problem. The world today isn't as beautiful as we all would like to see it. To some people it's scary and they go through the unfortunate, such as being homeless. Here today I will be discussing a huge problem that exists, homelessness. Today in California and New York, they have some of the highly homeless populations, which for the homeless community is a big problem. Today in the world, we are facing a pandemic, and what does that mean for our homeless community? Well, in California, this means that while it's recommended during the COVID-19 for everyone to at least stand 6 feet away from one another, it's not possible for a homeless community to do. These individuals in the homeless community aren't given the choice that should be able to social distance and stay away from other individuals. People in California who are living in encampment communities often stay close to one another. This is noted by Daniel Homer, the managing attorney at Homeless Action Center in West Oakland. Also, thousands of people that are included in the homeless populations are seniors or individuals who suffer from chronic health conditions. What this means for them during the COVID-19 is that individuals have a higher risk of having severe complications as they contract the COVID-19. Also, another thing to think about is how these individuals how are they going to get the care they need when they lack the access to medical care? A lot of homeless community have respiratory issues such as higher chance at having higher complications as they contract COVID-19. Now that I told you a little about California, I want to discuss New York. In New York City, it is highly populated with homeless individuals. This is due to the lack of being able to stay 6 feet away from one another due to living near one another. New York City alone has 62,000 homeless individuals that could be affected by COVID-19. Just like in California, the shelters are overcrowded and these individuals pose a higher risk of contracting the virus because of the underlying health issues they may have. To make this pandemic even worse for the homeless community, it is that there is no set plan in action. Paulette Saltini, which is a political director of Vocal New York, stated that there's no coordinated plan of the city's response to the coronavirus in this homeless shelter. She also added, it's going to spread like wildfire. Now that we have discussed a couple of areas that have serious problems with homelessness, I'm going to tell you about the reason homelessness exists. People become homeless for many reasons, such as people who come out to their parents. Another reason is losing job possibilities because of being laid off due to not having any work. Also, here are a few other reasons why homelessness exists. Being evicted from their homes, losing a spouse that helped pay bills, mental health issues, substance abuse, and even a breakup. Be part of the solution to less homelessness. How a community can help change the homelessness. In Oakland, California, there's a cabin community. Support from the mayor. The mayor, Rusty Bailey, slept in the cabins himself to garner local support for the cabin communities, which I think is pretty neat that the mayor actually sat there and lived in one of those things himself. There's some mayors that wouldn't even do that. The cabin communities were said to be warmer, safer, and more humane than people sleeping in sleeping bags on the ground or in tents. If more communities would work together and pitch in, we could have cabin communities where needed. I also added in my presentation a story about unexpected homelessness. This lady her name's Tracy Coventry. She lived in the same place for 14 years. And this is what she said. I was in a rental property for 14 years. The landlord decided out of the blue that he was selling it. There was no formal eviction notice. After 14 years, I was given 2 weeks to move out. Previously, we'd always had a good relationship. Then he started to harass me. When I left, it was awful. The locks were changed and the door closed behind me for good. Saying goodbye to all of my neighbors, I couldn't believe what was happening. I just felt lost. And see, with her, she lived somewhere for 14 years, so it was unexpected for her. So therefore, she became homeless without even knowing that she was going to become homeless. That's one of the unexpected things about being homeless. Not everybody puts themselves in that position. Think about the individuals facing homelessness. If we don't help the homeless today, there's no telling what dire consequences these individuals could face. Remember, these individuals are people just like you and me. We need to save these people the same way you would want someone to save us. If we don't do something to save them now, they could die, their children could die, and the streets where some of these people lay their heads are not feasible for them to be there. There are shootings, robberies, and diseases. Without our help, they will keep suffering and the problem can keep increasing. What would you do if that was your family, your friends? Would you really allow them to stay there dying and trying to figure out what their next meal is going to be, or where they will lay their head next? The least anyone can do is try to make a change, is to talk about the situation. I know not everyone has the funds to do something financially, but if the word could be spread about how to make a difference, someone could hear the message and be able to make a difference. If you can find a foundation to donate for homelessness that are willing to build shelters such as cabin communities, that will be a great start to getting the homeless off the street and into better living conditions. Without our help, there are families out there that are suffering and some that are even dying from not having adequate shelter. If you don't have the money to donate, you can always donate to a Red Cross location, the Salvation Army, or you can always donate your time to a soup kitchen. That way the homeless at least have something warm that night to eat for dinner. I want all of you to put yourselves in someone else's shoes who are homeless and think about how you would expect someone to treat you or help you become better. Homelessness is something that is not talked about much, although it should be. Though everything we have talked about today, remember we can do more than just sit on our couch at home and hearing about homelessness on the news. We as a community can work together and make a difference. We can donate to a homeless foundation, such as the Salvation Army. There are many ways that we can make a difference, even if we don't feel like we can. There are people out there that need our help, even if that means just to listen to their story on how they ended up being homeless. I wanted to inform you all on how we could decrease homelessness in the world together. Homelessness is a big problem, especially when a pandemic happens. They need the medical and shelter to help them make sure they won't become deathly ill. As a whole, we can change a problem. We don't want anyone to stand alone. We need to be united.